tonight we have on with us a young author. I say young, he's not that young, but he's also a youth. I mean, 14 years old. He's written a book, and it's not just any book, okay? It's a political book, a politically minded book. Right now with us, you see right there on your screen in your home, Alexander Horat. He's a Californian. I mean, he even lives in the state of California, and he wrote a political book, and he's 14. Thank you for coming on the Erin Cruz Show, Alexander. We are so grateful to have you. Can you tell us about your book?
Yes, thank you for having me on your show.
Absolutely.
So I wrote this new book called Why We Need the State of Jefferson to explain what the State of Jefferson movement is doing in Northern California.
Right.
And the reason why we want this new state called the State of Jefferson is because the 21 counties in Northern California that have 33% of California's total landmass only have 9 elected representatives statewide, while California's other 35 counties have 111 representatives. So we have no representation, we have no voice in the government whatsoever. So that's a huge problem. We're basically like the 13 colonies who were taxed and regulated by England. We're just taxed and regulated by the rest of California.
Interesting. Now, I live in California. I live in that other more represented area, if you will, and I still feel like I'm not represented. You know, the people, you know, politics is such a difficult thing in California because a lot of people feel like their voices aren't heard, that they don't have the voice that they should have in the legislature. But I'll also tell you, Alexander, that I did run for United States Senate, and I was always told that my people were in the North, and, you know, more conservative individuals who want less government, people out of their homes who want, you know, real people doing the real work, patriots who love this country, not bought for and paid for politicians.
Exactly.
And their biggest struggle from every one of those individuals in the North who I was told are my people are over and over and over again. I would hear that it's a representation issue. There's a representation issue, and there's a representation issue. And here you are, a 14-year-old that's talking about this struggle, the frustration of the people up there. Can you tell us a little bit more about your book and why it is seen as so important for the people up there to have that kind of representation, and why you would want to go so far as to removing yourself from the state?
So the State of Jefferson stands for limited government and fair representation. And since we don't have representative people, we have no voice in the government, so we can't change these things.
Right.
The State of Jefferson is against the sanctuary state. They oppose the sanctuary state. They oppose a lot of these new taxes like the gas tax.
Right. So you're basically less government and more power to the people, in the sense that people get to live their lives and free of oppressive government, right?
Exactly.
Now,
like if you look at the demographics of California, if you just look at the 2016 election map, you will see that Northern California, the State of Jefferson area, was pretty much a red block. While there is a few other areas, but this is the biggest red block.
Mm-hmm.
The other areas of California were mostly liberal. So that's the main reason why we want to make the State of Jefferson, is because we don't stand for these liberal policies. And unfortunately, I believe California is basically on the path of Venezuela, enacting all these new socialist laws. We have the biggest debt in the whole nation, the biggest state debt, while we still have the highest tax rate at 13.3% income tax for the state. And we're paying for all of this, and, you know, it's just the mismanagement of the funds, I think, because we shouldn't be in debt like this.
Right. Well, we have a lot of money coming in. Why is all of our money going out, and who's it going out to, and
Yeah.
and why? I think that's part of it as well. I have to ask you because people, we can talk about your book, but really the point would be people should get your book, buy your book, read your book, and understand where you're coming from and your perspective and what you're sharing. But what I really want, and you're going to give that information where they can buy your book at the very, very end. What I want to know is, how is it that a young man like yourself is conservative, and how you got involved in this entire Jefferson movement?
Well, I got involved through my parents. My parents have been helping me. Like, my mom's from Venezuela, so I know what these communist socialist laws do to a country, the people that are starving and eating each other. And I don't want that to happen in California. But this is the way I see it. If people down south want to live in a place like that, then fine. But we, the people who live up here, who don't want to live with a tyrannical government, shouldn't have to. It says in the Constitution how we have the right to throw off any tyrannical government. So that's what we want to do. We want to make a new state so we can have a voice in the federal government and the state government to further our values, because our values aren't being represented.
Right. Now,
so
you decided that so I want to understand, so because of your family life and your relationship with your mother and what you've heard, her family's gone through, that you just can't, you weren't okay with that, and you decided that, this is something that's important to your family, this is something that's important to you, and you wanted to help share the information with people.
Yeah, it's important to a lot of people up here. Most people in Northern California support the state of Jefferson. That's why these 21 counties petitioned with California to make this new state.
Right.
So right now, to make this state, we're suing the state of California for lack of representation and dilution of vote, because we used to have the federal model of government, which through that, each county had one state senator, kind of like each state has two senators. Mm-hmm. But we lost that through the Warren Court, so now it's just based on population, like the assembly.
Right.
So now we have no power whatsoever. So we're trying to get into so we sued, and the judge was denying our day in court and not giving us a 3-judge panel. So now we're trying to get directly into the Supreme Court, because this is a huge issue. So that's really what's going on right now.
Right. So you're really involved in this. I mean, where do you think that this is going to go for you? You're writing, you've written this book, you obviously are interested in sharing information with the people and getting out the message. Where do you want this to go? I mean, your activism and reaching the public, is this something that you're going to keep going with? You're going to keep talking about the state of Jefferson? I mean, and sharing that message. Do you talk to people in your community? I mean, what else do you see for you in this movement?
Well, we need the new state because California is going on the wrong track. We have the highest poverty rate in the nation. Just take a look at San Francisco with all those human feces everywhere. So we just don't want that to happen up here too, and which it could very well happen.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping that doesn't happen. I campaigned throughout the state for U.S. Senate, and I will have to agree with what was said. My people are in the north. I love the people all throughout the state. There are so many good patriots who actually think the same way you do, who don't feel that they're being represented throughout the state of California. But the people up there in the north, they have very, very different needs, and I can respect that. But what I did ask for them to do is to help us fight to take this state back in 2018, because if we have good representation, strong representation, we wouldn't be in this situation.
Yeah,
and you wouldn't be calling for the state of Jefferson. This is what I really believe. I believe that if the people in the legislature were representing the people of California in an appropriate manner, we wouldn't be in this state of flux. People wouldn't be calling for New California. People wouldn't be calling for the state of Jefferson. People wouldn't be putting ballot initiatives, splitting the state in three. We would be in a functional space, and that's what I've been calling for, is unity through 2018. One of the interesting points I did mention to people up in the north when I was campaigning there was I told them, if the people of California don't work hard to take the state back, if you do it the right way, that's up to you to move in the direction of splitting the state and to do it through proper process, right? And that's what you're talking about. You're talking about going through the proper process to split the state. And it's a very brave move you're making, by the way, young man, to be 14 years old, writing this book and stepping into a pile of mud, calling for proper representation. Because for me, down in the north, I mean, down in the south, I don't want to see my state split. I want to see my state functional. And I'm going to tell you, it would be best for me if we could listen to people like you in the north and make sure that representation was appropriate and proper the way it, was supposed to be structured, so you wouldn't have to feel or see that you need to break off from the state. Why don't you have proper representation? And I told the people in the north I would fight for that for them, and that's one of the reasons why I decided to have you on the show, because I think that if people understand about your book, okay, and what you're trying to talk about, that if we solve the problems, you wouldn't need your state. We would be the state of California. We would be functional again. But, you have to do what you have to do as a region. I get that. But my heart is for the people of California, and proper representation is part of that. And I'm going to tell you, I'm commending you for jumping up and beating this drum and making this fight and argument, because it's a brave move. It's really a brave move, young man. I mean, it's huge. Now, tell us the name of your book again.
So the book is called Why We Need the State of Jefferson, and you can get it on Amazon. And you can also follow me on Twitter at Alexander Horat. So yeah, it basically says the main reasons why we need it. And I agree with you that it would be great if all of California could become conservative again. But unfortunately, it just doesn't seem like, I guess it could happen, but as of now, it just doesn't seem really that. That's the main reason why we want this new state, is because this would actually create a new state that's for the people. If you look at these other movements like the 3-state and New California, if you actually look at the demographics, it would just make a whole bunch of new Democrat states, which I'm not for. But I do agree with you, though. If we could get California back on the right track, I would, that would be great.
That would be great. But here's the thing. I traveled the entire state, and I met people in small towns, big cities, you name it. All different kinds of people. Very, very, poverty-stricken people, homeless people, homeless veterans even, all the way up to the most wealthy of wealthy, okay? Affluent people that don't have a want or a need, care in the world. They live their lives. All different kinds of people. One thing I noticed is that they all want good things for their family. That's the common thing. They all want good things for themselves and their family. The other thing is that where you would think that there are no conservatives, like in Sacramento, in San Francisco, even in LA, some of these regions, they are literally fighting. They're not fighting physically, but they're fighting the information war. They're fighting the word war. The media battle is huge. And part of it, I think, is you can look at the voting blocks, yes. You can look at those numbers. I think it's important to look at the data, yes. But there are good people in very liberal places that are fighting back. I think that part of it is we have a government that has gone rogue, and it's not just in California, it's spreading across the country. And even our federal government is out of control. They've gone away from, their limited responsibility. I believe that the people who live in those areas, and even the most liberal areas in California, are fighting. They're fighting all over to get us back to the place where, we're living in a space of, strong morals, strong values. They may not all be conservative, but they want good things for the family, and they are more conservative minded. And to just say that LA is uber liberal and lost, or to just say that San Francisco is lost, there are people who are really fighting. Part of our problem is the media. They're pushing things in a way which is just making everybody making an argument. It's dividing people. And I don't like division. I believe in unity. And so I would like to see, all people in California have representation. So I'm just wondering, and I know you're working, towards the State of Jefferson movement. I know you are. But maybe, I could see it in my mind that maybe you could kind of think of a space of how we could go about getting proper representation for the entire state of California back.
Yeah, that's what we're doing with this court case. It's either California gives us back our one state senator per county, or they give us the new state if they want to hold on to power.
But I don't even know, and that's the proper process that it needs to go through. But what movement could we do that unites California and puts them in a position where it's most now, best for them to be able to come up with that as a solution? Because let's face it, splitting California is not good for everybody. It's not good. I don't believe, you believe it's good for you in the north. I don't believe it's the best thing for you in the north, and I don't believe it's the best thing for us in the south. I believe a united California is the best thing with proper representation. So yeah, I guess the courts will have to decide.
Yeah, this is how I think of it. If we could get proper representation, then great. I'm all for staying with California, or California could get back on the right track.
Right.
But if it's going to stay a liberal state, I don't see why we should go down with California becoming a totalitarian state. So that's the main reason why I want the state of Jefferson, because I see what's happening, and we don't believe in that.
No, and I don't believe in that either. And, I don't. And I think that many Californians would agree with that. I think that, many Californians would agree with you on that. And I really would hope that people would read your book, go to your website, learn more about the State of Jefferson movement, and get educated on what's happening in California. Because for me, I see the North as an asset to California that we just can't bear to lose, and that Sacramento needs to get its act together, and that we need to have proper representation. That's what I see. But I think more people need to talk about that. I mean, the split is nobody talks about it, and the state of Jefferson goes, and we have big problems, because not only does the state of Jefferson have to go in its merry way, it also has to create its own government, which that's a lot of money and a lot of resources. But then the state of California, it's going to have its own issues. It's a big problem, and it's not good, I don't think, in the long term. But, we'll have to see it play out. And I hope, young man, I hope that you continue to write, and I hope that you continue to share, and maybe even document your experiences through this entire process, because it's important. You're like, yes.
Yeah,
and stay active, because it's vital. It's really vital, because you have an inside glimpse up there, a perspective that you can share, and it's good.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you pretty much. Besides, the reason why we need it, though, of California, I've already said.
No, you can go ahead. Go.
If we keep staying on the communist track, I don't think we need to go down with the train, because we were never supporting that before. Well,
yeah, and
it would be great if you could become senator, though, and take back California, though. I'm definitely all for you becoming the senator.
I know. That's what people said. We were going to have to move to the north, Erin.
Yeah, I would love. You could make a speech in Tuolumne County. People would love to come and see you.
Oh, well, I definitely will. I definitely will. I went up as high as, I believe it was Eureka. I went to Eureka. I went, obviously I was in Humboldt County, but I went to Del Norte.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful county, and the people are amazing. I'm going to tell you, my heart is in the north, but this won't be the last time that we hear from you. I'm sure, Alexander, you're going to have to come on the show again, share more of your perspective, and talk to people a little bit more. Can you give your name and your book again, where they can find it, buy it, and support your cause?
Yes, so my name is Alexander Horat, and I'm 14 years old, and my book is called Why We Need the State of Jefferson, and I'm on Twitter at Alexander Horat. So thank you, Erin, for letting me be on your show, and I would definitely want to be on again.
Absolutely. I have to tell you, I've been so busy, I haven't even gotten to the space of ordering your book. I'm going to have to order your book, and I'm going to have to actually read it. I just really I had to have you on now, even before I read it, because I wanted to hear what you had to say, and I wanted to make sure that everybody else could order it too. So
yeah, check it out, yeah.
So well, thank you so much. Thank you
yeah,
so much for being on the show. God bless you, and God bless your family.
You.
Bye.
Okay, thank you.
To hear more and to learn more on how you can make an impact or about the Erin Cruz Show, visit us online at erincruz.com. That's ERINCRUZ.com.